Can you pretend to be my date for one day? The words rushed out of Mia Evans before she could stop herself. They hung in the air, trembling just like her hands. Across the mahogany desk sat Adrian Knight, the youngest self-made millionaire in the city, the man whose signature could make or break empires. He was focused on the document in front of him, his pen gliding with precision. He didn't look up right away. The silence stretched, each second slicing through her courage. Finally, his pen stilled. "You're what?" His tone was calm, but there was something dangerous about the way he said it, like a man amused by a mystery. "My date," Mia said, her voice steadier this time. "Just for one day." Adrian leaned back in his leather chair, his sharp blue eyes locking onto hers. "You barged into my office without an appointment, interrupted a meeting worth a few $1 million, and now you want me to be your date. Do you always make offers this outrageous, Miss Evans?" She swallowed hard. "No, just when I'm desperate." That caught his attention. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. "Desperate? It's my ex's wedding," she blurted. "This weekend. Everyone will be there. I can't walk in alone. Not after what he did, not after what people said. I just need one night to prove I've moved on." A flicker of understanding, or was it amusement, passed through Adrian's eyes. He rose from his chair, walked around the desk, and stopped just inches away from her. Mia could smell his cologne. Clean, expensive, impossible to forget. "So," he said slowly, "you want me to play the part of the doting boyfriend? Smile for the cameras. Whisper sweet nothings while your ex burns with regret." Mia's cheeks flushed. "Something like that." Adrian studied her in silence. Then a faint smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. "You're either very brave or incredibly foolish." "Maybe both," she admitted. The smirk deepened. "I like that." He slipped his hands into his pockets. "All right, Miss Evans. I'll consider your proposal." Her breath hitched. "You will?" "Yes," he said, turning back toward his desk. "But remember, everything comes with a price." And with that, Adrian Knight smiled, a slow, knowing smile that made Mia realize she might have just struck a deal with danger itself. Mia could hardly believe what she was doing. One day she was an ordinary assistant, barely holding her head high after a humiliating breakup, and the next, she was walking out of a luxury boutique with Adrian Knight, the most intimidating man she'd ever met, holding a garment bag worth more than her monthly rent. When he'd said he would consider her offer, she hadn't expected him to take over completely. He'd called his personal stylist, ordered a full wardrobe fitting, and arranged for a car to pick her up the following evening. Mia barely had time to breathe before she found herself seated in front of a mirror at a high-end salon, surrounded by people who treated Adrian's word as law. "Mr. Knight wants something elegant," the stylist had said, studying Mia with an approving nod. "Something that says, she's not heartbroken, she's untouchable." Hours later, when Mia stepped into the lobby of the hotel where Adrian was waiting, the air left his lungs for just a fraction of a second. She didn't notice it, but his eyes softened briefly before he hid it behind his usual calm expression. The gown was crimson silk, simple but striking, draping off one shoulder and falling in soft waves around her. Her hair was swept into a classic bun, leaving a few loose curls to frame her face. For the first time in months, Mia didn't look like a woman trying to escape her past, she looked like someone who had already left it behind. Adrian's voice broke the silence. "You clean up. Well, Miss Evans." Mia gave a nervous laugh. "That's your polite way of saying I looked like a disaster before." A small smile curved his lips. "You looked unpolished. Now, you look like someone worth regretting." Her heart skipped. "That's exactly what I want him to feel." Adrian offered his arm, the gesture smooth and effortless. "Then let's make sure he does." When their hands met, a current of something unspoken passed between them, confidence, maybe, or danger. The car door opened, and the city lights reflected off the polished surface like scattered stars. "Ready?" Adrian asked quietly. Mia drew in a breath. "As I'll ever be." And with that, they stepped into the night, toward a wedding that would change everything. The grand ballroom shimmered under 1,000 golden lights. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like stars, and the air was thick with perfume, laughter, and carefully manufactured joy. Mia Evans stood just beyond the entrance, her heart hammering like it was trying to escape her chest. She could feel every pair of eyes turning toward them, the billionaire CEO, Adrian Knight, with his hand resting effortlessly at the small of her back, and the woman by his side who was never meant to belong in such a picture. Yet tonight, she did. Breathe, Adrian murmured under his breath, his voice steady and low, grounding her. You look like you're about to run. I feel like I should, Mia whispered back. He chuckled softly, the sound sending a strange comfort through her. Too late for that, you're the star of tonight's drama, sweetheart. Own it. Her gaze swept across the room, and froze. Daniel, her ex, standing near the center of the crowd, tuxedo perfect, smile confident, until his eyes met hers. The color drained from his face. His new bride, Lily, followed his gaze and stiffened beside him. Mia, Daniel's lips moved, but no sound reached her. He looked as though the ground had shifted beneath him. Adrian felt her tense and, without missing a beat, slid his arm fully around her waist, pulling her closer. Smile, he whispered against her ear, his tone warm but commanding. He doesn't deserve your fear. So she did. Slowly, deliberately, Mia smiled. The kind of smile that said she was fine, more than fine. The kind that said she'd survived. They walked together toward the couple, each step measured, confident. Guests whispered in hushed awe. Mia Evans with Adrian Knight. Impossible. Congratulations, Mia said sweetly when they finally reached Daniel and Lily. Her voice was smooth as glass, every trace of her old heartbreak buried deep. Daniel's throat worked as he forced a strained smile. Mia, I didn't know you were coming. Oh, I wouldn't have missed it, she said lightly, glancing at Adrian. Adrian insisted, didn't you, darling? Adrian smiled down at her, his eyes gleaming with quiet pride. Of course, I go wherever you go. For a heartbeat, Daniel faltered. And in that silence, surrounded by music and murmurs, Mia realized something breathtaking. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. She'd already won. The night had finally ended. The music faded into silence, and the golden lights of the ballroom dimmed behind them as the sleek black limousine pulled away from the hotel. Mia exhaled a long, trembling breath, her shoulders slumping as the tension bled out of her. I can't believe that actually happened, she murmured, staring out the window at the city lights rushing by. I was sure I'd trip, or spill something, or destroy the bride's cake. Adrian interrupted smoothly. You almost did. Mia turned to him, horrified, then caught the faint curve of amusement on his lips. You're teasing me. He leaned back in his seat, unbuttoning his jacket with effortless grace. Maybe. You looked beautiful tonight. Too beautiful to waste tears on a man like that. Her heart skipped. You noticed. He turned his head toward her then, eyes meeting hers with quiet intensity. I noticed everything. The way your hands shook when you walked in. The way you stood taller the moment he saw you. And the way you smiled when you realized you didn't need him anymore. Mia's breath caught. No one had ever seen her that clearly before. Thank you, she said softly. You didn't have to go through all that trouble. You don't even know me. Adrian's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer. You're wrong, he said. I know what it's like to be underestimated. To have people believe you can't rise after they've broken you. I saw that same fire in you the moment you walked into my office. Mia blinked, her throat tightening. So that's why you agreed. Partly, he admitted, and partly because. He hesitated, then reached out, brushing a stray curl from her face. His touch was gentle, almost reverent. Because some people just deserve to feel seen again. Her pulse quickened. Adrian. He leaned back, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Don't look at me like that, Miss Evans. It was supposed to be pretend, remember? Right, she whispered, though her voice trembled. Outside, the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and white. Inside the car, silence settled between them, soft, charged, unspoken. Pretend or not, something real had begun that night.